Pallavi, maybe you can read?
Okay, Rangada.
Okay. Principle of divine works.
This then is the sense of the Gita's doctrine of sacrifice. Its full significance depends on the idea of the Purushottama, which as yet is not developed. We find it set forth clearly only much later in the 18 chapters, and therefore we have had to anticipate, at whatever cost of infidelity, to the progressive method of the Gita's exposition, that central teaching. At present, the teacher simply gives a hint, merely adumbrates the supreme presence of the Purushottama and his relation to the immobile self in whom it is our first business, our pressing spiritual need to find our poise of perfect peace and equality by attainment to the Brahmic condition. He speaks as yet not at all in set terms of Purushottama, but of himself. I, Krishna, Narayana, the avatar, the God in man, who is also the Lord in the universe, incarnated in the figure of the divine charioteer of Kurukshetra. In the self, then in me, is the formula he gives, implying that the transcendence of the individual personality by seeing it as a becoming in the impersonal self-existent being is simply a means of arriving at that great secret impersonal personality, which is thus silent, calm, and uplifted above nature in the impersonal being, but also present and active nature in all these million becomings. Losing our lower individual personality in the impersonal, we arrive finally at union with that supreme personality, which is not separate and individual, but yet assumes all individualities. Transcending the lower nature of the three gunas and sitting the soul in immobile Purusha beyond the three gunas, we can ascend finally into the higher nature of the infinite Godhead, which is not bound by the three gunas even when it acts through nature. Reaching the inner actionlessness of the silent Purusha, Nashya Karmya, and living Prakriti to do her works, we can attain supremely beyond to the status of the divine mastery, which is able to do all works and yet be bound by none. The idea of Purushottama, seen here as the incarnate Narayana, Krishna, is therefore the key. Without it, the withdrawal from the lower nature to the Brahmic condition leads necessarily to inaction of the liberated man, his indifference to the works of the world. With it, the same withdrawal becomes a step by which the works of the world are taken up in the spirit, with the nature, and in the freedom of the divine. See the silent Brahman as the goal, and the world with all its activities has to be forsaken. See God, the divine, the Purushottama as the goal, superior to action, yet its inner spiritual cause and object and original will, and the world with all its activity is conquered and possessed in a divine transcendence of the world. It can become instead of a prison house and opulent kingdom, Rajya Samriddham, which have conquered for the spiritual life by slaying the limitation of the tyrant ego and overcoming the bondage of a jailer, desires, and breaking the prison of our individualistic possession and enjoyment. The liberated, universalized soul becomes Swarat, Samrat, self-ruler and emperor.
It's a beautiful paragraph, summing up everything that you have said so clearly. So we get a wonderful picture of what he's saying. We look at it carefully and exactly uh, uh, read everything and make it very, very clear. Okay, so this then. So as usual, as I said, whenever he says then, he is actually summarizing, okay, and concluding. Mainly it is a conclusion. This then is the sense of the Gita's doctrine of sacrifice. Now, where does the word sacrifice come in? In Karma Yoga. Okay? In Jnana Yoga, there is no sacrifice. You are just going on with your discrimination. You are distinguishing between the true and the untrue. Okay, what is real and what is unreal. Okay, neti method. There is no sacrifice there in the Jnana Yoga. By concentrating, you rise to the highest level, and there it is a level 2. Okay, it's only liberation. It's not karma yoga. If you want to do works in the physical world, you will see that you lose your consciousness. When you come down to do works in the physical world, you lose your consciousness of the Brahman. Only you will have a faint memory of it, but you will not be able to do. If you want to do works perfectly in a divine way, you have to go to the Purushottama. That's the discussion in this paragraph. And Purushottama is level 3. Okay? So, level 2 is a Brahmic consciousness. So, level 1, Kshara Purusha. Okay? Kshara Purusha is the psychic being. It is mutable. It is going on developing. But the self, in the level 2, the self, the Brahmic condition, does not evolve. It is static. Okay? This distinction between movement in the physical world and static condition in the upper, we must have very clearly in our mind. Then many things become clear. Actually, there is a little bit of movement, but it's very, 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 very little. Okay? At the third level, there is no movement at all. It is absolute static condition. And the supermind it has the potentiality of action, but it is itself also static. It's a combination of the two. Okay, so what Srimati is saying, we'll look at what he's saying again carefully. I just gave you a hint of what is coming. This then is the sense of the Gita's doctrine of sacrifice. Sacrifice in Karma Yoga. That means today you have to do works in the physical world with a divine consciousness, not with our imperfect consciousness. Its full significance depends on the idea of the Purushottama. Why? Because when you are sacrificing to somebody, it has to be necessarily to a person. It has to be the person aspect of the divine. So that is why Purushottama. Purusha, Uttama Purusha. Okay. Kshara Purusha, level 1. Akshara Purusha, level 2. No movement, but no power also. And Uttama Purusha, level 3, which is you have the power also to come down and work in the physical world. Your consciousness comes down. Your body is always here only, but the consciousness comes down. Okay, and you can do works in the divine works you can do, and that's the chapter. The principle of divine works. How do you do that? That becomes possible with the Purushottama. Okay, but not with the Brahmic consciousness, not level 2. So, which is as yet not developed, which as yet is not developed. Okay, so I'm making an apology. We find it set forth clearly only much later in the 18 chapters. By the way, if you want to read continuously the 18 chapters of the Gita, it normally takes about 2 hours. Okay, they do that in many places. Parayana. Okay, like also Savitri. Also, there was one time someone was doing Parayana all over the world. Okay, so I don't remember the occasion, but they were doing that. So, and therefore, we have had to anticipate. Who is the we? Sri Aurobindo. Okay, he is not saying I, but he is saying we had to anticipate. We is really himself. Okay, at whatever cost of infidelity to the progressive method of the Gita's exposition. Look at the humility. He's saying, what comes later on, I am now mentioning to you for clarity's sake. Okay, and I am being relatively infidel, means I am not being faithful to the development of the idea as in the Gita. Okay, but we can take all that with a pinch of salt because he is making things clear. Therefore, we have had to anticipate at whatever cost of infidelity to the progressive method of the Gita's exposition, that central teaching. Okay. Progressive method of the Gita's exposition is central teaching. And what is the central teaching? Go to the Purushottama level and continue to do work in the physical world. That's the main message of the Gita. Don't give up the physical world. Okay? That's why it is synthetic. At present, the teacher simply gives a hint, merely adumbrates this supreme presence of the Purushottama and his relation to the immobile self, in whom it is our first business Okay. But the sentence goes on, so I'll break it up. At present, the teacher simply gives a hint, merely adumbrate. So adumbrate is a verb which means to give a faint shadow of, exhibit imperfectly, give only a hint. Okay, that's adumbrate. Draw only the outlines like a silhouette, give a faint shadow of. That's what it means. The supreme presence of the Purushottama. He has just hinted at it. The Gita has just hinted at the idea of the Purushottama and his relation to the immobile self. Which is the immobile self? Level 2. Okay? The immobile self, not the word immobile, no movement at all. Okay? Static condition. In whom it is our first business. Okay? Our first business is what? To rise to the immobile self, because that gives you liberation. You are not identified with your body mind life anymore as in level 1. Okay? So, and his relation to the immobile self. So what is the relation between the transcendent Purushottama and the spiritual immobile self? He has reduced himself and made himself into the universe, and the universe again in turn makes the individual forms in the physical. There is a descent. It's a two-stage descent. Transcendent becomes cosmic, and cosmic becomes the individual. Okay? So he's saying, relation to the immobile self, in whom it is our first business, our pressing spiritual need to find our poise of perfect peace and equality by attaining to the Brahmic consciousness. The Brahmic consciousness, immobile self, all same. Okay, Atman. Okay, even Nirvana is the same, but Nirvana has got a suggestion, an intimation that there is nothing. It is absolutely static, but it is empty. Actually, it's not empty at all. It is full, but featureless. Something which is full and featureless, you can't describe. Therefore, it's, you can say, in a sense, it is zero. Okay. So, equal. So when you go to level 2, you have perfect peace and equality. But if you want to come down from there again into the level 1, you will lose your Brahmic consciousness. You will not be so equal, and your peace will not, because you will get trapped again in the ignorance of the body mind life, and you will be subject to the senses. Like before, when you are seeing through your senses, that will come back. The memory of the Brahmic consciousness will be there, certainly, but you are back to square one. Okay, you don't have the power. So if you want to come down and still retain your peace and equality, you have to go to level 3. Then you can do that. You can come down, and even while doing everything in the physical world, eating, sleeping, going, purchasing, working, okay, studying, you will have peace and equality. You will be capable of divine works. That's why Purushottama is so important in the Gita. That's why there are 3 levels, exactly as in Sri Aurobindo uh, philosophy. Okay. Level 1, Kshara Purusha, ignorance. Level 2, the Brahmic consciousness, or the Brahmic condition. Peace and equality, but and wideness and freedom, but no power. Little bit of power is there as you keep rising, okay? But it is nothing worth mentioning, because the moment your consciousness comes down again into body mind life, you're back to square one, except the remembrance. That changes your life entirely, but still you are a prisoner of the body mind life. Okay? I go to the next sentence. He speaks as yet not at all in set terms of the Purushottama, but of himself. Okay, that's why it's a hint, it's an adumbration. But of himself, I, Krishna, Narayana, the avatar, the God in man, who is also the Lord of the universe. Okay, the Lord of the universe, remember the Lord of the sacrifice, the previous chapter. Okay, we have described that. That's why he is saying that I had to deal with the Lord of the universe, the Purushottama. I had to deal earlier to explain myself and the Gita. So, I, Krishna, Narayana, the avatar, the God in man, who is also the Lord in the universe, incarnated in the figure of the divine charioteer of Kurukshetra, in the self, then in me. Okay, so that is chapter 4, verse 35. Okay, so He says, Yena Bhutani Asheshena Drakshasi Atmanas Atman just one second. Yeah. Atman Drakshasi Atman Yatho Mai. Atmani Atho Mai. First of all, you will see in the Atman, afterward you will see in me. So first you see in the Atman, that is the level 2. Then later on again you will see in me, which is the Purushottam. So this Atho Mai, Srila goes on using again and again to make a distinction between level 2 and level 3. Okay, so.
Rangadas,
Yeah, tell me.
one question. Like Buddha achieved nirvana, no?
Nirvana is the word used for the Buddhists. Okay?
Yes. So he went to the second level.
Who?
Buddha.
Of course. He may have
No,
even.
so when he came, no, he came back to the to life. He still retained that peace and quiet, no?
Yeah, in Buddha's case, yes, because he was an avatar. So he was certainly gone higher up. We don't know exactly what happened. There are no records, but certainly, because he did come down. Srila mentions that. He says that he did come down and preach. Yeah? He did the divine.
Yes.
In fact, the birth of Buddha, entire Asia became Buddhist. Okay. So yes, he must have, definitely. But that's the reason why he refused to discuss philosophy. He said, let us restrict ourselves only to the problem of pain and suffering and get rid of it. Okay. Yes, Buddha must have. He is an avatar. An avatar is not one who becomes again subject to ignorance. No, certainly not. Yeah. Okay. So I go to the next one. Okay. So in me is the formula he gives. Okay. In the self, then in me. Srila mentions this in many places. Okay. So in the self, atho mai. Okay. Atmani atho mai. Atmani first, that is level 2, and mai level 3. Because it is a Purushottam. Is the formula he gives, implying that the transcendence of the individual personality by seeing it as a becoming in the impersonal self-existent being, which is the impersonal self-existent being, level 2, okay, the self, impersonal self-existent being. Because our being at level 1 is not self-existent, okay, we are dependent on nature. Okay? It's simply a means of arriving at the great secret impersonal personality. Okay, so it's a means of arriving to impersonal personality. So what does that mean? He is using personality with a P cap. That means person. But impersonal personality, obviously he means the Purushottam. So when you go to the third level, divine is personal as well as impersonal. In the level 2, there is only impersonality. Nobody is there. Okay. But in level 3, you can meet the divine in any form you want. He can take a form. But he is not limited by that form. Okay. So the great secrets in this. Okay. That's why the normal yogas, whether it be Jnana Yoga or whether it be Bhakti Yoga, they stop at level 2. But the Karma Yoga will go on to level 3 if it is done correctly and ends in the right way. Okay, so the great secret impersonal personality, which is the silent, calm, and uplifted above nature in the impersonal being. This whole sentence is only level 2, which is thus calm. Oh, sorry, he is describing the impersonal personality. Okay, so silent, calm, and uplifted above nature in the impersonal being, but also present and active in nature. There you are. Okay, so this is his description of the. When you are in the third level, you have all the powers of the level 2, but you have got more than that. Yes, something. Actually, was saying something. No, it's okay.
I just mentioned that it is the third level he's describing here. No?
Yeah, that's right.
The impersonal.
Yeah. I got a little confused because silent, calm, uplifted above nature. Only
But
that
he
was
also is adding, but also present. He's adding after that. No? End of
that's
it.
right.
Yes.
That's that's right.
Acha, Rangaja, I want to mention a little more about we were discussing right now about Buddha.
Ah.
Sometimes I feel these avatars, what they have experienced, they know, but they mention to the world only for which the world was ready.
That's
So what they have said from that we can't judge where they have actually gone. Ne?
absolutely, absolutely. We can't even judge ourselves. How can we judge the other?
Exactly. Same thing with Shankaracharya also. I sometimes wonder, like Shankaracharya always is that he's only talking of Mayavad. Maybe that was what was necessary in the world that time.
Exactly.
And we can't limit him. I mean, now reading so much of Sherwin,
Yes.
Soman, his suggestion, his
Yes.
opinions and what he says, it feels that how limited we become when we fix these avatars to certain things which we understand.
Yes, you're right. In fact, Srivanda mentions that the Gita does not go to the supramental descent and all that because there is not a time. It would be useless speaking about it. Nobody would understand. It was not the right time. See, everything there's a time spirit. Okay. In German, they have a word for that, the time spirit, Zeitgeist. Okay. There is a time for everything. Just see, very, very clear. We, in Leonardo da Vinci in the 14th century, thought of air travel. Okay. But it was not possible because the time spirit has not allowed it. We did not know the laws of aerodynamics and we did not have light materials. Aluminium, plastic were not discovered. So we could not do it. It took 400 years to become possible. And after that, the time spirit allowed it. So that's exactly the same thing in the Gita also, that the time spirit did not allow Sri Krishna to speak about the supramental descent. They have spoken about the Purushottama condition, but not the descent. We are not yet time for it. Huh? You have, it will be wasted labor. We have so many expressions in our all languages. No? It's like throwing pearls in front of a swine, they say. Okay, or they also, it's useless. The swine will not appreciate the value of the pearls. Okay, then we also have an interesting, I've heard it said, okay, भैंस के सामने बीन बजाना. If you play music to a भैंस, to a buffalo, is he going to appreciate? He won't. So it's not a time. So you have to, everything is to be revealed in time. In fact, the Gita is very clear. It says, do not reveal a spiritual knowledge to one who is not ready because it will confuse him. Okay? Very, very clearly the Gita says that. So that's right. Archana, you are absolutely right. We can't judge. But Pallavi asked a question. That's why I said that he must have definitely been, because if you are an avatar, nah, I'm not judging him. I'm saying if he is declared an avatar even by Sri Aurobindo, okay, how can he be in ignorance? So that's the reason why I said that. Okay. So we go on to the.
Rangada, I'm agreeing to that point exactly. I'm exactly agreeing to your point.
Yes,
That
yes.
I'm actually agreeing. I'm corroborating your point only.
Yes, yes, absolutely. That's right. I just made it clear. In fact, I was going to tell Pallavi that how can we judge Buddha? So,
No, I was not judging. I was just saying that only avatars can do that. And we can't do it. I mean, we go to the second level, but and when we come down, we'll be again engrossed in our own all this
absolutely.
material things, right?
Absolutely. You will be a prisoner. In fact, very interesting word. We'll see that. Okay, we become
Prisoner, yes.
a prisoner of the senses.
Jailer,
That's
yes.
right. That's right. So, impersonal personality, his description is beautiful, which is thus silent, calm, uplifted above nature. That means you are not in your body mind life anymore. The consciousness is not in the impersonal being, but also present and active in nature in all these billion becomings. Okay? So, billion becomings, everything in the physical world is a becoming because there is movement. Huh? So don't think that there is no movement in a stone or the Himalayas. There is movement. Okay. At the atomic level, there is constant movement. Okay. In fact, in the Himalayas, there is constant movement. It goes on, it is increasing in height, maybe 1 inch in one century, because the tectonic plates are pressing each other like that, and then it rises. So, and the earthquakes also. So there's constant movement. Even that which is you think is stable, like the earthquake, it is not. It's moving. Okay. Everything in the physical world is movement, and everything in the above the spiritual planes, they are static. They don't evolve. There is no evolution in the upper planes. They are typal beings. So they use the word typal. The type is fixed. Okay. So I go on to the billion becoming, I go to the next sentence. Losing our lower individual personality in the impersonal, we arrive finally at union with that supreme personality, which is not separate and individual, but yet assumes all individualities. So there is the description of the Purushottam. Losing our lower individual personality. So which is the lower individual personality? Your ego, your body, mind and life. That's a lower personality. Whenever he speaks of personality with a P lowercase, he is talking of the outer nature. And outer nature is your coverings, okay, the body, mind, life. They are the sheets that cover you, like clothes. Their psychic is deeply covered by all these three. Okay, so losing our lower individual personality in the impersonal. That's the level 2. No? You become impersonal. We arrive finally. So from level 1, you have gone to level 2, and then you rise to level 3 finally. At union with that supreme personality, we now is a P cap. So it is, and our personality at the lower level is the self and the psychic being, but it's not supreme. The supreme personality, when he says, it is very clearly the Purushottam, which is not separate and individual, but yet assumes all individualities. In other words, he is everything. This is impossible for logic to understand. How can he be one and at the same time be all? But he can be. That's the mystery of the divine. Okay. So very clear what he's saying. But which is not separate and individual, because our person, okay, is separate and individual. Even if I realize my psychic being is different from all the rest. Okay, it's a person. It's definitely is a person. It's a true part of you, but it is separate. Okay, even when you have the cosmic consciousness, my consciousness will experience everybody else's consciousness as one, but you are still seeing the others. Okay, so that's what he's saying. Very clear. That's why I said it's wonderful. He's described so clearly all the 3 levels. Okay, then transcending the lower nature of the 3 gunas. Now he's using the word 3 gunas: sattva, rajas, tamas. Sattva belongs to is a characteristic of the mind. Okay, sattva, rajas is a characteristic of the vital, and tamas is a characteristic of the physical, the body. Okay. These are the principles. Principle of light and understanding and balance and harmony. That is sattva. The principle of rajas is movement, action, force, okay, energy. That is rajas. And tamas is the principle of stability, darkness, lack of understanding, and non-movement. All these 3 are necessary. We have discussed that many times also, that tamas is a principle which is absolutely essential in the physical world. Because if it is not there, then all the forms that you see will go on becoming mobile. But you need immobile forms. Otherwise, how will you live in the physical world? So tamas is necessary at the lower level. Okay. But if when you want to go up, it's a huge hindrance. Okay. Exactly at every level, there is something which is good and there is something which is pulling you back. Okay. Ego is the helper, ego is the bar. Remember that. Okay, in the standards of conduct, he has made that very clear. Huh? So, ego is the helper. It helps you to develop yourself. But you want to go to the next level, it's a bar. Okay, so, transcending the lower nature of the 3 gunas and seating the soul in the immobile Purusha. Okay, Pallavi, not sitting, but seating. Okay, there is a difference between the two. Sitting is you yourself sit. Okay, but seating, you make somebody else sit. Okay, so seating in Sanskrit they have a very clear. They call it a causative. Okay, so when you cause somebody else to move. Okay, gum is the word gum means to go. Okay, aham gacchami, but aham gamayami. I am making others to go. Okay, there's a causative. In Sanskrit, we have that beautiful. The language is so fine. There are all sorts of frequentative, causative. Okay, all these different. You just change the form of the word and it changes the meaning. In English also we have the same sitting and seating the soul in the immobile Purusha. Beyond the three gunas, we can ascend finally. Note the word finally. Huh? If you go to the immobile Purusha, then you are in the level 2. But if you go beyond finally into the higher nature of the infinite Godhead, the infinite but Godhead. Godhead is the personality, okay? Personal aspect of the divine, which is not found by the three gunas, even when it acts through nature. Reaching the inner actionlessness of the silent Purusha, Naishkarmya. Naishkarmya is the non-doing. This is the level 2. When you go to the self, you are a witness. You are only witnessing, you are not acting. You are just watching. That's Naishkarmya. Naishkarmya, non-action. Okay? And leaving Prakriti to do her works. In other words, you are just watching. If you have that experience of the Brahmic consciousness, you will see that your body-mind life is going on acting in the old way. Okay? Whatever habits were there, you are doing. Whatever your desires, they are still there. But you are not bothered now because your consciousness is up and watching. It's only a machine working. When you see a machine working, there is no emotion involved. Okay? There is no emotion involved. You just see it working. Okay? That's what he said. So, and leaving Prakriti to do her works. This is the attitude of the silent witness. Okay? We can attain supremely beyond this to the status of the divine mastery. Divine mastery again, if you go to Purushottama, you are master of the physical world and not only of your own body, mind, life, but later on he will tell you at the end of the para, Swarat and Samrat. You become master in the universe. Okay? First master of yourself, then master of the universe. Okay? Divine mastery, which is able to do all works and yet be bound by none. At our case, when we do some work, they are bound by it. Okay. They are bound by it. But when the divine is doing the work, he does the work, but is not bound by it. There is the whole problem with Arjuna. He is being asked to do a work to which he is bound. And so he says, I will not do it. How can I do this? It's having an effect on me. And Shri Krishna is telling him, you rise to the second level, go beyond, don't identify yourself with body, mind, life. And if you do the work, you will not be bound. You will not feel sorrow in killing your own kinsman. There will be no reaction on you. This is the whole idea of the Gita. And yet be bound by none. The idea of the Purushottama, seen here as the incarnate Narayana, Krishna, is therefore the key. So, in the Karma Yoga, you have to go right up to the personal aspect of the divine, and that is the key. Okay? That's why many people say that the Gita is Karma Yoga. I say, no. It is also Bhakti Yoga, it's also Jnana Yoga. Because the description, you have to see all the 18 chapters. But if you see only this, you will feel that it is Karma Yoga. But it's not. It's all the three. That's why I said they call it a synthesis. Without it, without what? Without the idea of Purushottama, without the third level, the withdrawal from the lower nature to the Brahmic condition leads necessarily to inaction of the liberated man. So clearly he is telling you, when you lose your identification with body, mind, life, withdrawal, okay, from the lower nature to the Brahmic consciousness, you will end up with liberation, but you are bound to inaction. You will not be able to work in the physical world. The body, mind, life will continue, but not the soul. The soul is sitting up there, and if the soul also descends, consciousness in soul is the same. If it descends into the body mind life again, you are back to square one. You have become a prisoner of your body mind life and senses. Okay, so without it, this is what happens. The withdrawal from the lower leads necessarily to inaction. With it, now Srenda is using with it. We have to stress these two words. Okay. If we had to do it, we would have started a new para to make it clear. But Srenda is not like that. Okay. So I have underlined without it, and then I have underlined now with it in the middle of the para. Okay. What is second? So first, without the Purushottama consciousness, you will be at peace and calm, but unable to work in the physical world with a divine consciousness. You will work, but without a divine consciousness. But with the idea of the Purushottama, you will be able to do divine works in the physical world. Okay? With it, the same withdrawal becomes a step by which the works of the world are taken up in the spirit, with the nature and in the freedom of the divine. Freedom. You are not bound anymore by the body mind life. Now, see the silent Brahman as a goal, and the world with all its activities has to be forsaken. So if you see the silent Brahman as the goal, that's what the Buddhist is wanting, that's what the Mayavadan is wanting. Okay, you have to give up the physical world, action in the physical world. If you see the silent Brahman as the goal, and the world with all its activities has to be forsaken, has to be given up. See God, the divine Purushottama, as a goal, superior to action, yet its inner spiritual cause and object and original will, and the world with all its activities is conquered and possessed in a divine transcendence of the world. Divine transcendence of the world, yet you can work in the world. It can become, instead of a prison house, there you are. Okay. Prison house. Instead of the body mind life, it need not be a prison house. It will become a prison house if you go only to level 2. Okay. But if you go to level 3, it cannot be a prison house. It can become, instead of a prison house, an opulent kingdom. It's not only kingdom, opulent, full of wealth and riches and splendor. Okay. Rajyam Samriddham. Samriddham, very, very developed, very full of riches, wealth, wealthy, which we have wealth not only in money, but power, knowledge, okay, ananda, everything will increase, which we have conquered for the spiritual life by slaying the limitation of the tyrant ego. The ego is a tyrant. Okay, it really bothers you if you are sensitive. Otherwise, you will think it fine, naturally, no problem. By slaying the limitation of the tyrant ego and overcoming the bondage of our jailer desires. The desires are jailing you. They are making you a prisoner and breaking the prison of our individualistic possession and enjoyment. You may enjoy, but you are a prisoner enjoying. The liberated, universalized soul becomes Swarat and Samrat, self-ruler and emperor. So this is what Srila is doing. So that itself is a sign that he had reached the third level. Okay. He was so many cases we have now. We have got 3 or 4 proofs also. He was going all over the world and helping people. Okay. The helping people, there are 2 interesting cases. One is the John Kelly. Okay, John Kelly was an American soldier in the Second World War. He was constantly being guided by Sri Lanka. And later on, when he went back to New York, he realized who Sri Lanka was. So, because he saw his picture on the cover of Life Divine. Then he came to Pondicherry. He stayed here for 3 years and went back. I have met the fellow. And then also that famous book, okay, The Lost Footsteps. He was a Romanian, in Romania. He was a prisoner and he was being tortured and he was about to commit suicide. And Sri Lanka went to him and gave him a lot of advice about life. Life is not to be sacrificed. Suicide is not good. We told him, talked to him for a long time. Then finally, this boy, his name is Silvio Gracionas. I have mentioned it once. Silvio Gracionas. And he said, who are you? What's your name? So in the book it is written, I am Aurobindo Ghosh. So that's why we came to know that he had the experience. Okay. Aurobindo Ghosh. By the way, there's a mention in Savitri also of the prisoner in the dungeon cell. Okay, these are the words he has used. When you are a samrat, you can go and help a prisoner in the dungeon cell. Okay, so very clearly he is referring to Silvio Gracionas. Okay, so that completes the paragraph, and a beautiful paragraph. No? I found it marvelous. He so clearly he has told you about the 3 levels. Level 1, you are an ignorant. Yeah, tell me.
I want to ask a question.
Yeah, tell me.
So, still we have reached at least the 2nd level. Can we say that we are doing divine work?
Semi-divine. Divine also is all relative. Na? What is below is anti-divine. What is above is divine.
Okay. It's a very, I mean, just struck me, and often I wonder, like, that's why I was asking.
Yeah. There's a chapter in Life Divine, the divine and the undivine. Okay. In the YouTube session, we have just started that chapter. So whatever is below you is not divine, undivine. And whatever is above you is the divine. Somebody asked me in knowledge, do you think that Mother and Shiva are divine? Now that's a stupid question, because certainly they are divine compared to us. But they may not be divine compared to the Superman, because they have not yet become that. So it's a relative question. But everything which is above you is divine. Because the divine is everything, na? Advaita philosophy. Everything is divine. Even matter is divine. Okay, we have gone beyond our time.
That's a very practical answer, Rangadhar. Thanks.
No, it is Srivano's answer in that chapter.
Yeah, I mean, it gives a practical, how to.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, for instance, we are divine compared to animal. Very. Okay, au revoir, everybody. Have a
Au revoir.
nice
Bonne journée.
Thank you, Rangada. Thank you, Rangada.
Yes, au revoir.